Hello and welcome. My name is Elyse. I'm so glad that you're here. Today I have got a quick video for you showing you how you can use distress inks two ways on the same card. Here is a look at the project that we are going to use or make today, and let's jump into it. So I've got the Paper Pep Talk stamp set from Trinity Stamps. It's nice because this is a smaller stamp set. It's a 3x4 image. You can see my stamp is stained. I've used this one before. I think the sentiment is really, really nice. I'm going to be doing some heat embossing onto some Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock. I'm using the smooth side of this cardstock, using VersaMark ink to stamp that down, and then I will use some white Hero Arts embossing powder to emboss this down. It's kind of hard white on white to see, but I promise it'll become more evident, the stamped image, as we move forward. Gonna go ahead and heat set that until all of the powder is nice and melted and there are no longer any shiny areas. I have got 6 colors here. I've got picked raspberry, spice marmalade, squeezed lemonade, twisted citron, broken china, and wilted violet. I'm using this water media mat here. This is from Waffle Flower, and it's perfect because it has these little wells that you can use to put an ink cube's ink down into, or any other type of liquid watercolor you might have. I'm using a number 2 brush here. You probably actually could have gone with a smaller brush, but this is actually the smallest watercolor brush that I have. Just kind of showed me that maybe I should get one that's a little bit smaller. And I am just going ahead and filling in the words. I have this sped up to 2 times so that we're not here for forever. It's kind of perfect. There are 6 words in this, and so you can do every word a different color. I love this stamp set. I think that the sentiment is great because it's basically exactly what we want to say to someone with a card, right? Here's a paper pep talk. Here's just a little bit of encouragement for a friend. I am just going through and doing some painting. The yellow is probably the hardest. I probably should have used mustard seed instead of squeezed lemonade, just so I would have gotten a darker yellow. But in the end, I do end up going over this again once it's dry to try to get a little bit more saturation on this color. Because I have heat embossed, it makes these perfect little wells to put your paint into. And I do go over on the lines just a little bit, but I think it still looks great in the end. And again, if you had a smaller watercolor brush, then this would be better. I think that distress inks are some of the most unique, I guess, tools and supplies that you can have while you do card making, just because you can use it so many different ways. Today I've only used it 2 different ways, but there are many more ways that you can use it. Different ways that you can ink blend than what I did today. You can do ink smushing with it. You can stamp with it. It's just really unique. And while most days I gravitate towards the oxides, it's still fun to break out these distress inks. I also only have the cubes on these. I don't have the full-size ink pads. All right, so now I'm going to move on to the second way, which is the ink blending. So I've cleaned up that ink from my watercoloring, and I've got these Trinity blender buddies, and I am just going through and kind of making circles of color. And instead of going in like stripes of rainbow order, I kind of just moved clockwise throughout the rainbow so that I could blend the red and the purple together. Really the pink and the purple. But this is a lot of fun. I don't actually have a green blender buddy assigned, so I just use the blue. I wipe these off every time in between use, so there really wasn't color on the brush. I probably could have done a better job wiping in between the green and the blue, but it is what it is. That's kind of one of the nice things about these brushes. With something like a blending foam, you really need one for every color. But with the brushes, you can really go back and forth between colors so long as you wipe it off really well. I'm also going back and forth between colors once I do the blending, just to smooth out any areas that need smoothing. Now I'm going to move on and do my die cutting. So I've got the die that cuts out the little speech bubbles here. And then I've got some A2 layering dies. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut down that panel. That panel is, by the way, Bristle Smooth. That's what I prefer to blend on. All of the supplies are linked down below, by the way. I've got my card base here, which is Nino 110 pound. I have just scored that to make an A2 sized card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 once folded. Just using some basic tape runner to tape down that background. And then I'm going to go ahead and use some foam tape to pop up that sentiment so I get a little bit of dimension going on this card. From there, I thought this needed a little something extra. So I have got these new embellishments from Trinity. It's the Bubbles Blowout. They have a really like rainbow iridescent look to them. So I thought that they would be a great addition. Just pouring some out into this tidy tray. I love this thing. It is amazing. If you store your embellishments in these little boxes, and if you buy from Trinity, most of the time you're going to get the little box because you can buy them like that already in the box. The little lip on the tidy tray pours like directly into the little box. And so I no longer have a mess, or I'm like, sometimes with sequins, especially, there's a lot of static and they stick to me. I don't have to deal with that anymore. They just pour right out of the tray. Just adding clusters of 3 to this card using a tiny bit of liquid glue to keep these down. And that's my card. I told you it was a quick one today, but I hope that you enjoyed this. Here's a final look at the card. If you liked this, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to see more. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that you have a great day.